we want to share a screen, which is right there.
Wow.
So the surprise group, can you scroll up to the categories? Yeah. So the
Not that
surprise,
far.
the surprise group talked about this opportunity that came up in the global research conversation from earlier in the year about having a global calendar of events. And so a team has actually started to pull together a draft proposal for what that might look like. And the idea is that we would have a calendar with 4 categories of things: purple, which has to do with studies and reflection; green, which has to do with conversations about significant topics; gold, which has to do with training and method creation; and blue, which has to do with global, national, and local gatherings. And this would give us a way for anybody to offer something in the world. The first event listed is this study, but that there are other things both within our current network and also outside of our current network that could be offered. And some will cost, some will be free, but you could click on there and get information or sign up. So some examples are the One Earth Film Festival, the Disruption and Healing Dialogue from the Top Virtual Network, Asia Pacific. We're doing our annual planning event. And so anybody that wanted to contribute to topics that we're working on. Game Changer Intensive. This is actually a session offered by a different network, but that is recommended. So the idea is that these would be developed onto a monthly calendar, and then we would have access to these ideas so that we can sign up for them.
Wow.
The conversation that we had was about this, how to get access to this more widely, but also about how do we use this idea as a way for the research network to deepen focus on certain areas, so that we might highlight like every month 2 or 3 topics that people are doing session on, in addition to just all the sessions involved, but that 2 or 3 sessions could take our research to a deeper level or a more global level through this opportunity. My team is supposed to add. So team, add anything else that we need to say.
That sounded pretty complete.
Hey, Larry, could you say how we get into this?
Well, part of that is still being worked out, but the simple answer is you will there will be invitation. Once it's ready to go, there will be invitations shared on the listservs, ICA, the dialogue listservs, et cetera, the ICA listserv. But also once that's shared, you can share it with others.
But right now we can go into the archives, right?
And you can go into the archives to that page, which is Karen,
what?
please describe
ICA
where that is.
ICAglobalarchives.org, and then you click on events, and that takes you to the calendar. And I'm putting it in the chat.
Okay.
Good.
But the idea is that it would be a pilot over the next 3 months, starting March to June, so that we could test out how this might work and what it might feel like to sign up for things, et cetera. So,
Like to encourage,
and away we go.
and would like to encourage any of you to put your own events on here. So Judy Lindblad and Ellen Howie are inviting us to High Tea to talk about the life phases, particularly phase 5.
Ah,
And
Oh,
Joyce is talking about higher ground and having us help her develop this curriculum that she wants to do on higher ground. And so you can be thinking what you want to offer and who else you know that should be offering something and who else you'd like to recommend participate in these events.
And Karen, at the end of each of these studies from now on, we could bring that page up at the end to share a screen, just to remind everybody it's there at the end of each study, so that they can be thinking about.
That'd be great to do. Yeah.
that's great. Yeah. Wow. Very good.
Seems
Okay.
to me this program is building and networking those who care.
Say that again.
Oh,
One-
I like that.
I said, it seems to me that this program is building and networking those who care.
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Very good.
Which works
So-
really well in a pandemic.
Mhm.
One quick note on the whole dynamics of Wikinomics and doing things for free, like the companies do, and then hook you into the network and then put a little fee on. So we could actually pay some people to work on this kind of a project. So just gently think about that, actual income from this kind of a project. It isn't, people pay for webinars and stuff all the time. So anyway, the planning team, think about that one.
Also, I forgot to mention that both Eunice and Sherwood are offering a place to stand. Where can we stand in the midst of all these pandemics?
Yes, yeah.
March 29.
March
As
29th.
long as he doesn't stand on my foot.
Yes, Sherwood, were you suggesting, I wanted to be sure I heard you right, that people would pay to participate? Or we would pay them?
No.
No.
But people would pay to do a $5 or a $10 sort of fee. And if we get a big following of hundreds of people, then suddenly there's money. So, I mean, just keep the business perspective on it, not just volunteering or free.
Okie dokie.
Sure.
It's also not an either or choice.
Right.
So there are ways that you can allow people to pay and not pay and et cetera.
Right.
So there's,
Good.
So here's a good research question. How much would you be willing to pay to participate in a book study like this?
Mhm.
$50.
Okay.
Even, $10, $25, I mean, it could be possibly you'd make a lot of money. Now, is this going to go out to this promo stuff, go out to the listservs, like the calendar is outstanding. Karen, are you putting that out on the listservs? Because I
Yeah.
think we get
This week.
great, because this is just great.
Okay, so
can
that's,
we hear
that's
from
good. We'll
2
get
and
it,
3?
we'll get it this week. Let's hear from group 2. That's very good. That surprise was really well worth it. Okay, Jan.
Jan, okay. Do we have anyone who'd like to do one of our insights? That you had? Well, I'll do a few. We talked about cities we loved, we've lived in, we would like to visit. Did you know that you can get on a bicycle in Pittsburgh and ride the trails all the way to Washington, D.C.? It's one of the great cities that's been reinventing ourselves. We went back and forth in terms of if we really believe cities were where we're at. Half of us lived in cities and half of us lived in smaller cities, smaller towns, and that could see the virtues of both of those. Okay. We noticed where in the cities, some of the things that were shifting. One was growing food, cafes in the streets. Like, streets are not just for cars anymore. Toronto has closed down whole streets, so people had places to walk on the weekend. They put restaurants in their streets and closed. So that was one example. Growing food was another. Either changing city ordinances to grow food in your front yard, or just people beginning to shift that. The pandemic has also illustrated where the brokenness is, where the gaps are of services, and where there needs to be rebuilding. Let's see. Some of our cities are beginning to advertise, come here. Get away from the fires, get away from the earthquakes, get away from the rising seas, and come to the heartland. Cincinnati, there we go. Yes, and so people are using that
Literally.
as a ploy. We recognize that within the cities that have a world-class whatever, entertainment, healthcare, healthcare is often where we particularly this age, decide to live, access to it, but how with the digital world, both healthcare and the arts of cities have become more available to the exurban, to the rural areas. And it's a trend we hope continues to happen. Let's see. We also talked about, let's see, what is the role of the cities in the future? And I had been at a conference hosted by the UN in their chambers, and they invited the mayors of 250 cities to come to the conferences. It was the first time they did not have nation states. For the most part, the UN is nation to nation. It has no particular vehicle to talk within the cities, but perhaps with cities coming together through this pandemic, making it, you think of some of the different cities that were behind the 8 ball, but then came and were able to rally and come together. Maybe there will be a stronger understanding of the role of city in our political dynamics, whereby the 54 key cities of the world could gather. We seem to have heard that number before, to look at cities as the cities don't have armies, but they have all the issues. And how do they come? How do we have the solutions from one city? We love the idea of Paris. We didn't know how it would work, perhaps. We love the idea, not mentioned, but Asia is having, gardens throughout. The walls are gardens, just not the top of it, but the whole walls are gardens.
Yes,
That
yes.
kind of experimentation is going on. How do the cities link across and perhaps relink the political geography? That might be one of the visions for the
Okay.
future. We'll stop.
All right.
It was good.
Yeah. And group 3, what were some of the insights, or where do we see decisional cities today? The 5th city? Or where were you working to create human community? Anybody in group 3?
We heard about Boulder, Colorado, working with climate action and green teams. We heard about Columbus, Ohio, Park Hill, Colorado,
In Denver.
I'm sorry.
Park Hill is in Denver.
Oh, in Denver, sorry. And we heard about a group that came about in Iowa called Heart and Soul. And that was Nancy Trask talking about how 7 communities in Iowa are coming together. We talked what a lot of these have in common, such as networking and including all and more people, getting more people actively involved in building their community, in sharing resources, using imaginal education, and so on. So
okay. All right. So out of all of this tonight, how can we catalyze and support more human 5th cities, more dynamic 5th cities, or intentional cities? What can we do? What will you do?
Make friends from another neighboring community.
Okay.
I'm part of an eco village group, eco villages, and it's called Smart Villages. And one of the things, I don't know whether anybody's done it, but an eco village in a city that could be a demonstration kind of thing of what community looks like based on ecology in the city.
Mhm.
Where's the city?
Any city, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what
but
I-
where are
yeah.
you when you said you're part of one?
Oh, well, I'm in an eco village here in India. I mean, in Mexico.
Yeah.
And so I'm connected through my involvement in Echo Village. And therefore I'm encountering these people in the smart villages, what they call it.
Right.
Okay.
You
Good.
could check with
Network.
Tucson. Tucson has one called Stone Curves.
Mhm.
And they're connected with several others in the Tucson area.
Anyhow, just an
Okay.
idea.
Well, that's
You know, in
good.
an urban area, a Green Rise Urban Learning Lab would be an exciting concept in a historical rehabilitated building
Yeah.
that houses two intentional communities and 25 social service agencies.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'd like to say also that we left our church here in the suburbs and went to Denver because I was really hoping, been trained to think about cities as a place where confluence happens because of so many diversity groups. But even if I work in Denver and I work in Boulder and Park Hill, for example, in Park Hill, they now have what they call a campaign to address human supremacy within and human privilege within the museum because they realized that they call the shots everywhere. What everybody has to see, what the story had to be told, but never had really dealt with that. And I thought that that was a great step that they are making. In Boulder, even if it is really what you say, and I admire Boulder, I noticed also that we work with a Hispanic organization there, but they are very close. They do not really even want to bring other people. They asked me in Sherwood simply because, first of all, you know, I had a friend who was a Hispanic person who was part of their board, but they would really not want to invite somebody else who feel that they are being told what they should do. And so the thing is, the chapter that we have here started with a lot of things happened. The pandemic really was born in Wuhan, which is a major city, and it is the breeding place and epicenter of epidemics. And I would say on the other side, it could be the epicenter of a different pandemic, which is humanness, which you also said. And I am still looking for those opportunities. And in a way, I've worked with like Colorado Health Foundation for a few, some of their symposium, but I have realized as well that what is expected is what the experts who are mostly white to really give you the answers. And they all have the answers on the stage, and everybody, with about 500 of us, are there to take in the answers and replicate it where we are, but it is really not. So I just wonder, I'm sorry about this, but I wonder what it really means to have real participation that we say, even thinking of Fifth City, how do we really not necessarily doing what we did in Fifth City, but what is the reality, the consciousness that had emerged over the years, and what are the ways that we can apply our experiences and methodology to respond to a very unique set of conditions in our society today. I think that is the edge of our research. It's good to learn from what we have learned and use what we have learned, but do we have eyes to see what is necessary for our times today?
Okay, well, that's a good way to summarize where we need to go from here. And let's turn it over to who? Jim or David? for
Next week, inequality will get worse. And Linda
Why?
Cock and Dawn Collins, Linda Cock and Dawn
Downer.
Collins are our chapter hosts. Do you all want to say a word? I know you've been hard at work.
We're at a point where we're ready to combine our individual efforts into one document that will hold our session. Will hold lesson 7. Linda?
Yes,
she
I'm
not
sorry,
there?
I was
Oh.
muted. I'm sorry. Yeah, you'll be hearing from us in a couple of days, so we'll have something for you.
Now, for those of you who have not yet been chapter hosts, March 1st, lesson 8, globalization is not dead. We need one of you to step up and be the chapter host for that lesson. Any volunteers at the moment? That's what I was afraid of.
Nobody in this group knows about globalization.
You don't have to know about globalization. All you have to do is read the chapter and help us study it.
Oh, Mylan!
Go for it, Mylan.
I've already
All right.
volunteered for another one. Maybe we need to revisit the issue of the city in relation to globalization.
Yeah.
Because
That's good.
when I saw the comment about cities are a more sustainable way to live on Earth, I raised the question in my mind. Let's talk about that. Think about the footprint. The footprint was a concept that some client scientists came up with about the carbon footprint, but it evolved into a lot of other footprint ideas. And when I think about the footprint of cities, yes, cities are a more sustainable way to live on Earth. And then the thought came up, the footprint, cities suck resources. And that's a whole area that I don't think we've even begun to plumb yet. And when I'm thinking about simply the issue of in the developed world, urbanization has peaked mostly due to high cost of housing. What is climate change going to have to say about that? There's a whole issue of everything we've been talking about. The model of our civilization is in the last 200 years is based on a mindset of unending and eternal progress. And I'm just wanting to inject that into the conversation.
Sounds like a good topic for a short-term seminar to put on that calendar and really drill into it, Mylan.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah. All right.
Jim, just a quick question or comment. I don't know if anybody's bumped into Yes Magazine recently.
Yes, not recently.
Not recently, but I
Well,
love it.
it's right online, and there's some amazing things that show up. And it's, basically free. You can contribute, but I'd recommend checking it because I think maybe Eunice would find, some interesting things where people are coming together and making some difference. I think it's Georgia is one of the places, but it's it's worth a look.
What's the website again? Where do I?
Yes Magazine.
Yes. Yeah.
Just Google it and there it'll be.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everyone. If somebody wants to take chapter 8, Mylan, you're on chapter 9. The world is becoming bipolar, and Gene Watts and I are on lesson 10. Sometimes the greatest realists are idealists. we'll need to find somebody. Thank you all, and we'll talk next week.
Have a great week.
Thank you.
A great week. Happy Mardi Gras.